Imagine finding out that some, or even all, of your tax debt could legally disappear and you didn't have to carry it for the rest of your life. If you've ever asked yourself if your taxes can be discharged in bankruptcy, you're not alone. And today I'm going to talk about when the answer might actually be yes and when it's not. Coming up in this video, I'm going to answer 3 critical questions. First, can tax debt ever actually be eliminated in bankruptcy, or is it something you're stuck with forever? Second, how do you know if your specific tax situation might qualify to be discharged? And third, what happens if the IRS already has leverage, like a tax lien, and what bankruptcy can and can't do about that? By the end of this video, you should have a much clearer idea of whether bankruptcy might help eliminate some or all of your tax debt and what your next step should be. Let me start with something I see all the time. A lot of people walk into my office convinced that tax debt can never be eliminated in bankruptcy. They usually didn't just make that up. They heard it from a friend, an accountant, a coworker, or something they read online. And here's the thing. That belief exists because it's partially true. Some taxes can't be discharged, but some can. The problem is most people never learn the difference, so they either give up too early or they make decisions based on bad information. The reality is this. There are specific rules that can determine whether tax debt can be discharged. And once you understand those rules in plain English, you can start to see whether bankruptcy might help in your situation. So let's start with the big picture. Some taxes can be discharged, but not all of them. Income taxes can sometimes be discharged in bankruptcy, but other taxes, like payroll taxes or fraud penalties, generally can't. So if you owe only payroll taxes, bankruptcy probably won't eliminate that debt. But if you owe income taxes, then it might be possible depending upon other factors. Next, there's a rule that's basically non-negotiable. Bankruptcy is designed to help people who are honest but overwhelmed. If there was fraud or intentional tax evasion, discharge is generally not available. That means if someone knowingly files false tax returns or tries to hide income on purpose, bankruptcy usually won't wipe out that tax debt. Now, let's get into the core of this whole topic, and honestly, the part most people have never heard about. Tax discharge is mostly about timing and filing history. There are 3 main timing rules. You don't need to memorize them like a lawyer, but you do need to understand what they mean in real life. The first is the 3-year rule. This is about how long you have owed the taxes based on when it was due. The date due is the filing deadline for that tax year, which is usually in April of the following year. So if you didn't get an extension to file your 2024 taxes, the 3 years would start to run from April 15 of 2025. The second is the 2-year rule. This is about when the return was actually filed. You need to have filed the tax return at least 2 years before you file the bankruptcy. The third is the 240-day rule. This is about when the IRS officially assessed any taxes. You must file your bankruptcy 241 days or more from the date of the assessment. A simple way to think about this is like 3 clocks. All 3 clocks have to run out before bankruptcy can wipe out that tax debt. Passing one rule is not enough. All of them have to be satisfied. Now, here's where it gets a little more complicated. Sometimes those clocks can stop or get extended. Certain events can pause or extend these timelines. Things like a prior bankruptcy filing, an offer in compromise, or certain periods where the IRS suspended collection activity. The big takeaway here is this. Timelines are not always as simple as counting calendar years. There can be adjustments depending upon what happened in your case. Now let's talk about one of the biggest misunderstood issues, tax liens. Bankruptcy can eliminate your personal liability to pay certain taxes, but it usually does not remove a properly filed tax lien. What does that mean in real life? It might mean the IRS can't garnish your wages or levy your bank account anymore, but if they filed a lien against your property, that lien may still attach to your house or your equity and can cause an issue if you go to try and sell it or refinance. And this is really important. Bankruptcy can still be valuable even if a tax lien exists. It can still stop collection pressure and eliminate personal liability in many cases. Now, let me give you the most important practical takeaway from all of this. Timing mistakes are expensive. If you file bankruptcy too early, you could lose the chance to discharge tax debt that might have been wiped out if you had waited. On the other hand, if you wait too long, you risk liens, levies, or more aggressive IRS or state of New Jersey collection action. The core message here is simple. Guessing is dangerous. Strategy matters. Now here's where this becomes very real world. Determining whether taxes can be discharged requires looking at specific facts. Things like when returns were due, when they were actually filed, when the IRS assessed the tax, and what kind of collection activity happened. And this applies to both federal income taxes and state income taxes. In New Jersey, that can matter. The same general timing concepts often apply, but every situation has to be reviewed based on the actual timeline. Another thing people ask about is penalties and interest. In many cases, penalties and interest follow the dischargeability of the underlying tax. So if the tax is dischargeable, often the related penalties and interest are too. Now, if you're watching this, you probably realize something. Whether taxes can be discharged isn't just about knowing the rules, it's about knowing your timeline. And most people don't have that timeline sitting in front of them. You need IRS transcripts. You need assessment dates. You need to know when returns are filed and whether anything paused those timing rules. And if you don't have that information, you really can't know if bankruptcy could eliminate your tax debt. The next thing you need is to consult with a bankruptcy attorney who can review these records and give you a legal opinion as to whether any or all of your state and federal taxes can be discharged. If you live in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Salem, or Cumberland County, New Jersey, click the link in the description to schedule an initial call with me. You might just find that part or all of that tax burden can be lifted off your shoulders.